and then we'll. Oh, sorry. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Um, I'm Swarna. I'll just quickly introduce myself, and here today I'll talk to Stacy,
Mhm.
and we'll take it from there. So, I'm Swarna. I'm the founder of Magic Polygon, a storytelling app for kids, where the um, uh, kids and their families um, can record and live stream a story and share it with their other family members. So it's an interactive storytelling platform
Mhm.
which is available. Today, we are going to talk to Stacy, who's a children's book author, and she's the author of the series Cami and Wyatt
Mhm.
uh, to the series, and we are going to ask her about her um, kids book author journey. Hi,
Okay.
Stacey. Could you please tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Stacy. I'm from Minnesota in the US here, and I am a mom of two. I'm a teacher, and I've always wanted to be just like a lot of authors out there. I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been writing stories since I was 7 or 8 years old, and it's just always been a dream of mine to be a published author. So, a few years ago, I decided to try and make my dream come true. So I wrote a rough draft about my kids. And then I just had to kind of learn where to go from there. So I thought, I mean, like a lot of other authors out there, after I wrote my rough draft, I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know anybody who was an author. I didn't know anyone who had published a book. I didn't know anything. So I just kind of was stumped. And so I just had to dive into the world of self-publishing. I joined a lot of author groups on Facebook and met a lot of author friends. And now it has been 3.5 years, and I have 8 books in the Cami and Wyatt series. And then um, last year, I started a new series called Young Changemakers. So I have 3 books published in that series, and I'm working on 4 more.
Wow, that's great. That's wonderful. You mentioned that like from when you were writing, you wanted to write books when you were a small kid, right?
Mhm.
Starting from at a very young age.
Mhm.
So, at what point, like I mean, you said that you were a teacher. At what point you felt like, okay, I have to be an author now. It's the time for me to become an author. Like, what at what point did you decide, and what motivated you to move towards your dream?
Yeah, so it was timing for me. Let's see, I had my daughter. So I became a teacher. I taught for about 5 years, and then I had my daughter. So it wasn't the right time then because I had a baby and it was just too busy. Then I had my son. And then when my son was a toddler, I had an opportunity to be a part time kindergarten teacher. So
Hmm.
I was teaching on Monday, Wednesday, every other Friday. So then I had Tuesday, Thursday, every other Friday off from teaching where I was home with my son. So I remember thinking that spring, if I'm ever going to do it, because then he started going to preschool. So when he was at preschool, I had a couple days at home. And so I thought if I'm ever going to do this, I should do it now because Cammie's in school, my daughter, Wyatt's in
Hmm.
preschool. I'm part-time teaching, so I'm not teaching full-time right now. So that timing that was going on is what led me to write that rough draft and get going on doing that.
Wow, great. Like, once you decided, like, once you wrote the rough draft, how did you decide, like you should go for self-publishing? What made you to move towards self-publishing rather than going towards the traditional publishing
Yeah.
methodology?
Well, so yeah, after I wrote the rough draft, the next thing I did was I reached out to family and friends and I asked them, "Hey, do you know anyone that's an author?" Because I thought I had to go the traditional route. I didn't even know what self-publishing was. I'd never heard of it before. So that wasn't even on my radar. So after I wrote my rough draft, I figured, well, I probably have to like try to find an agent and start submitting my book. And so one of my friends from work, her cousin is a published author. So I
Mm-hmm.
reached out to her and she basically said, yeah, you're going to have to start submitting and good luck because it's going to take years for you to get published,
Oh.
going that route. So that kind of bummed me out. But then my sister went to high school with a girl who had just published a book and she just started her own publishing company. So I thought, okay, I'm going to reach out to her and I'm going to ask her for advice. So
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to her name's Lindsay. Yep, that's
Mm-hmm.
one of my books, Cami, Wyatt and Kindness too. So I reached
Mm-hmm.
out to Lindsay and I said, "Hey, I'm Jessica's sister, and I just wrote a book, and I'm just wondering, can you guide me on how I can get this book published?" And Lindsay said, "Yeah, let's have breakfast." She's super nice, really helpful. So we met. She helped me like kind of find editors and just basically know the steps to self-publishing because that can be overwhelming too if you don't
Mm.
know anything. So she helped me publish my first book, and actually my first book, which is Cami Kangaroo Has Too Many Sweets. This is my first book. This book is
Wow.
actually published under her publishing company,
Uh-huh.
which is Rodney K. Press. So even
Okay.
though I did most of the work myself, she guided me into publishing. So she put her publishing company logo on that book. But then I started my own publishing company. And now every book that I've done now has my logo on it, which is Hop Off the Press LLC. So this is my publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess she helped me get going with the self-publishing industry, and then I just started learning things. Like I said, I joined those groups on Facebook, and I made a bunch of author friends, started reading everybody's posts and learning from them, and taking webinars and courses and classes and researching. And now I feel like I have a good handle on. Now that I've done it a few times, I have a good handle on what to do for that.
Great, great. And once you started deciding, once you started decided to write the picture, especially for a book, finding a good illustrator is a great step, right? Like you have to find an illustrator who can actually visualize the picture in your mind.
Yeah,
So.
you do, and I didn't know any illustrators, of course, so then I was like, where do I find an illustrator?" So I went on, a couple, freelancing websites, Upwork and Fiverr, and I put my, project out there, and I got a lot of response. There's a lot of illustrators, but none of them really clicked with me, like, it just I've heard it compared to, trying to find a new house, like, you just know when you find the
I
right one,
know.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I looked in the Facebook author groups for illustrators, and again, I just didn't for some reason, nobody really, struck me as the right match, but then I went on Google one day, and I just Googled children's book illustrations because I thought if I can find the style that I like,
Huh.
then I can try to find somebody that matches that. And I ended up finding Rebecca Sinclair, and
Mm-hmm.
she was not an illustrator at the time. She had never done a book, but she had an Etsy shop and she was selling prints that she had made for people's like nursery, kids' bedrooms. This is Rebecca, and she
Mm-hmm.
she was making pictures and selling them on her Etsy shop. And I loved her style because she uses colored pencils. So
Wow.
I just really like the texture of it. And so I emailed her and I asked her, I know you haven't done a children's book before, but would you be interested? I love your style. I would like to do a series. And she was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So we've been
Wow.
together. We've done 8 books now um, in this series. And then for my second series, I wanted to use somebody different. So what I did then, since I had all these connections in those Facebook groups, I went in the author Facebook group and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone who can do people. I don't need them to look like super realistic, but
Hmm.
I just wanted someone that could illustrate people. Does anybody have any recommendations of anyone they've worked? Because if you go into a Facebook group and you say I'm looking for an illustrator, you'll get 500 replies,
I know.
illustrators posting their portfolios, which is great. But I don't know these people. I don't know if they're gonna be someone that's gonna be professional to work with, how much they're
And
gonna.
also committed person, right? Like,
Yes. Yes. So
So,
I asked for recommendations, and she was recommended to me by like 3 or 4 different authors who said she's great to work with. She's reasonably priced. She's very good, and I love her. So her name is Emanuela, and she's actually from Romania.
mm-hmm.
Um, but she does paintings instead of the colored pencil. So it's just been
Wow,
really fun working with both of those ladies. They're both very good, very professional, and I recommend them to other people too. So
great.
yeah.
And your latest series is the Young Change Makers,
Mhm.
correct? Like so, in this one, you have moved from fiction to non-fiction.
Yes.
So, I mean, what is your journey? Like, what inspired you to write Young Change Makers?
So last winter, after I had already done like 8 books in my other series, I'm a very being a teacher and a mom, I'm very passionate about kindness. I really believe that, one little act of kindness can change a lot of people's lives, the whole pay it forward thing and all of that. So, and I had written a couple books about kindness with Cami Kangaroo, this
Hmm.
one that I
Yeah,
have.
I looked at them.
But I thought I want to do something bigger. I was thinking, what can I do? How can I use my author voice to really make a difference in the world? And I was looking through all of my books because as a teacher, I have, like 1,000 picture books. So I was looking through all of them, and I noticed that I have a lot of books, and I've read a lot of books about people in the past, like historical figures that have made a difference, like
Mm-hmm.
Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King. Um, but I noticed that I didn't have any books, and I hadn't read any books about young people who are making a difference today. And I
Mm.
thought, wouldn't it be awesome? Because kids are so inspiring. I'm just being a classroom teacher and a mom, just seeing the things that they do, little things that they do that make such a big difference. Kids inspire me, and they can bring hope for the future. And just with everything that's going on in the world, we need that. We need hope. We need optimism and things like that. So I thought I'm going to see if I can find kids in the world that are doing things to help people or animals or the environment. So I
Mm.
put it out there. I put it out there on my social media and to my email subscribers on my website. And I just started asking. I just kind of fished around. I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this series featuring kids who are making a difference. Does anyone know of any young person like under the age of 18
Mm-hmm.
that is doing something big or small?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to do one book, and I started getting all of these
Yeah.
submissions. So now I have 7.
Wow.
And each book features 12 kids. So I have 84 kids, and I'm still getting people sending me. I mean, I could do more. I'm kind of overwhelmed with it right now, so I'm going to stop at 7. But in the future, I could even do more because there's just so many kids who are doing things to make a difference. So I had people sending me kids' names. So then I reached out to their parents, and I had to get permission to feature them. So I have a release
Exactly.
form. Yep. And some of the parents didn't want to do it, which is totally fine. But a lot of them were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So then they signed it. And then I started writing it. And I did notice there's a big difference. So with fiction, it's just me, the editor, and my illustrator.
Hmm.
With the nonfiction, I hired a book designer, Travis Peterson, because with nonfiction, you have all those nonfiction text features. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Travis, my book designer, designed the table of contents.
Mm-hmm.
So Emanuela does the painting of the child, but then Travis put in the map.
Mm.
He put in the quotes. I wrote the features, of course, but he added photographs of the kid. He added these little logos. I got the signatures of each of the kids. He put those in there. So he takes all the pieces of these books and he designed it to make it look appealing, visually appealing.
Visually appealing. Yeah.
Right. So, and then I have a cover designer too. So me and Emanuela, we design the cover, but then I send it off to another cover designer, and she touches it up and makes it look really bright because, the book cover is the first thing people see. So there's just a lot. It's just a little bit more complicated with the nonfiction. And then, I thought it would be easier to write because I figured, oh, it's just facts. but it's
Mm.
actually kind of hard because I want to make sure I get all my facts right. So I have to do a lot of research on each of the kids. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
have a list of questions that I gave them
Mm-hmm.
and they answered them. But then I also went to their website and their Instagram and Facebook if they had it. And I just make sure I do a lot of research. And then I show them their feature when I'm done and make sure I have everything right. And then I have 3 editors and I have beta readers and they read through it. So I found like teachers and parents of kids who I think are the audience, like 8 to 11-year-olds. And I sent the PDF off to them and I said, let me know if this, because I don't want to make it so fact based that it's kind of boring. I want
Mm.
it to be like something that is engaging. And so I get feedback from those kids. And then I send it to my editors and they edit it for content and grammar and all of that. And then it goes to Travis and he puts it together with the illustrations and the photographs and all of it. And then it goes to the printer. But it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, but it's been super um, fun for me because it's just I'm very passionate about it. You can probably tell because I've I've heard a lot of feedback like, wow, these kids are awesome and they're super inspiring and motivating and we just want to let kids know that it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 3 and you can do something that can make a difference in the world. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And I know, like, do you sign an agreement with the parents to
Hmm.
publish the story?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the kids are underage, so I have a media release that I sign. Some of the kids are now 18 or older, so they just signed it themselves. But if the change maker is under 18, then I have the parents sign it.
Great. And I also saw that in the Kami and Wyatt series,
Hmm.
there is a few interactive books.
Hmm. Yep. So this is the first kindness book that I created. So um, this one only took about a month to make because Rebecca, she drew the pictures, but she didn't color them in because I thought it'd be fun to make it a coloring book.
Mm-hmm.
But then as a teacher, of course, my daughter's like, you always have to teach a lesson. I'm like, well, I do. So I thought it'd be fun to make it good for kids at different levels. So if the child is 4, they can draw a picture um,
Mm-hmm.
to show their act of kindness. If they're older, they can write ideas to show their act of kindness. So yeah, this is an interactive book that has ideas about kindness, coloring, writing, and drawing. And then because I wanted to make it teacher friendly, I have questions in the back that you can ask your kids as you're reading the book. And then I have pages that teachers can make copies of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I caught you being kind. And they can have a bulletin board or they can have the kids do these worksheets in the classroom. And so I just wanted to make it really teacher and parent user friendly. And then I hired someone to make me an activity book that I sell, and so this one has coloring pages, but I also had the person put in word searches and connect the dots and mazes. And so this one is for a little bit younger kids, but
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it'd be fun to have that to go with the book series too. And then I have another coloring book that's just coloring, but I wanted to do like an alphabet book for preschool age, kindergarten
Mm-hmm.
age kids. So this has a letter of the alphabet on each page. Plus, these illustrations came out of my books, so I hired someone to remove the color and then outline the picture so that kids could color it. So creating a
Wow.
coloring book, it isn't just like taking the picture. You have to remove the color and then a lot of the lines weren't complete because when Rebecca draws, she sketches and things like that. So then I hired someone to make sure the lines were outlined and
Mm.
all the way filled in so that kids could color it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also see that you, you do school visits
Hmm.
as well. Could you brief about your school visits? Do you do a storytelling session or something to the kids, and how does it work?
I just did one this morning, actually. So I have been doing a lot of virtual school visits because of COVID. I used to go in person. We have a couple here in Minnesota that will let you come in person, but a lot of people just want to do it online. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a slideshow that I made in Google Slides, and I start by showing the kids pictures of books that I made when I was a kid, because I kept all my books,
Oh,
just
wow.
to, just to show them, hey, when I was 7 and 8 years old, I was writing, and I've been wanting to do this my whole life. And like, even though I don't know anything about it, it's possible. You just have to work hard and research. And so I start with that, and then I tell them, and then I explain how I use the writing process, because teachers teach that in their classroom. So I talk about how I had to get an idea, I had to write a rough draft, I had to edit, I had to find an illustrator, um, make my final copy. So it's just like what they do in school. That's how I write. And
Hmm.
so I have visual pieces. Like I show them the picture of Rebecca. I have pictures of her coloring
Hmm.
illustrations. So I tell them about the illustration process, like how she actually makes the illustrations. And then I have pictures of me at the printing company, because I got to go there and watch them make my books. So I have photos of me at the actual printing factory. So I show them that. And then I read them. Cami Kangaroo has too many sweets. And I have the slides in my slideshow. So it's nice and big and they can see it on the projector. And
Hmm.
then I talk about all of the other books. Like I talk about how I made it into a series, and how I have coloring books and activity books. And I show them my little, because I got stuffed animals made to go with the books. So I show them my little stuffed animals. And then I talk about my new series and how I hired a new illustrator, and I talk about her and show them pictures of her and how she does her illustrations. And so it's usually about 45 minutes or so, because then at the end we have time for questions. But yeah, it's
Oh,
all about me, how I became an author, how I actually make the books, read a story or two, and then I talk about my new series and who these kids are, and that they are your age, and this is what
making a
they're doing.
difference.
Yeah. So
So it's like author writing workshop kind of thing for kids in the
yeah,
schools, right?
yeah.
Something like how they can think about communicating their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yep.
I mean, the basically like storytelling is like connect with the people and express what do you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and so that the other people can connect with that. So it's like a writing workshop sort of thing that you're doing with the school visits.
Yeah, because I want to get across that not only should you try to follow your dream that you have, like go
Mm-hmm.
after what you want, but also, yeah, like how I write the books, and that my process is just like theirs at school.
Hmm.
And then for kids who are interested in art, you could be an illustrator when you grow
Illustrator.
up. Like Rebecca went to art school and got her degree in children's illustrations, and now she does that for her job. So a lot of kids are interested in drawing and coloring and painting, and that's something that they could do when they get older. Or if you like writing, you could be an editor. You don't have to be an author. You could edit people's. There's professional editors that I hire to edit my stories. So, yeah, there's a lot of different parts to publishing books. And if anybody's interested in books, that's something that they could look into.
Yeah, that's really great because that's how you tell kids like where they can collaborate with each other. So it's like not every kid is good at drawing, not every
Yeah.
good kid is good at writing. So they can actually collaborate to bring up something which is really cool, great.
Yeah. Because a lot of kids will ask me, well, why don't you just do the drawings? And I'm like, well, I like to draw. However, if
I
I
know.
want to sell books, I need to hire someone who would actually, because I said, just because you can draw doesn't mean that you should.
Should do.
And a lot of people try to do their own illustrations. And even if you can draw, I mean, Rebecca was trained, and Emanuela were trained in the programs that they use to illustrate. They were trained to know how to format the book, to get the files together, to use digital, to touch up the illustrations in the digital part of their computer. And they know all that. And I don't know that. And I don't want to learn it. I have enough
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
plate. So yeah, you delegate out what you're not particularly good at, you delegate out to other people who have been
Yeah,
trained.
you delegate to experts who do
Mhm.
it
Yep,
in the best
yep,
way, right? So I
yes,
mean,
yes,
it's like they're good at doing, and you
yes,
have to delegate. So that's a good
yep,
one. Like I also tell to my son sometimes he tells me like I don't draw well, so I said
mhm,
like, oh, that's okay. but you're good at writing, so you should
Yes.
explore,
Yep.
and you should
Mhm.
collaborate with other people so that like
Yep.
everyone's unique talent comes out.
Right. And just because you're good at drawing, you can always get better. Like Rebecca, she has been drawing since she was a kid, but she also took classes. She went to college. She still takes classes now and learns more and more different ways to be an illustrator. So as a writer, I don't just put pen to paper. Like I've taken classes, I've taken courses, I've had training, I practice. So to get, I talk to kids about just because you can do something doesn't mean you can't get better at it. You can always continue to learn and
Exactly.
grow in the area that you're working in.
Exactly. And I also saw in your website that, after publishing the book, during the process of marketing your book,
Mm-hmm.
you have also run Kickstarter campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty impressive that there were 4 successful Kickstarter campaigns. So, 5.
Five.
Okay, that's great. I was
Yeah.
looking into your website, so that's really awesome. Like, because to many people, who come from a non-technical background, many people ask me like, "What is Kickstarter?" So I was really impressed to see. Like, I was really see that like you have made 5 successful campaigns. That's
Mhm.
awesome. And would you like to talk more about your campaigns, and how did you decide that you should go towards Kickstarter when
Yeah.
there are other crowdfunding platforms, and what made you to choose Kickstarter, and how was that journey of marketing through Kickstarter?
So yeah, when I wrote Cami Kangaroo has too many sweets. Um, After I wrote it in April of 2017. And then I met with Lindsay that I told you about, and we started talking about the steps to self publishing. I soon found out that it was going to be expensive. I didn't realize, and I think a lot of authors are on the same boat. Like we think, oh, I'm just going to write my book and then I'll hire an illustrator and that'll just be a few $100s and then I'll just sell it. And it's like, no, first of
No,
all, the illustrator is a few $1,000s if you
exactly.
get somebody who's actually good. And then you have to pay your editors and you have to pay to get it printed and you have to pay to market it. I mean, I run Amazon ads. I have to pay for all that stuff. You have to pay to have a website. You have to pay to run Facebook ads. I mean, everything. And you have to, pay to get bookmarks made and business cards. I mean, everything has a cost. So what I thought was going to cost a few $100s, I soon found out was going to be at least $4,000 for the illustrations. Plus, I wanted to get hardcovers printed because
Mm,
with hardcovers, you can make more of a profit because you can sell them for more money. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to get like 1,000 hardcovers printed because the more you have printed, the less it costs per book.
okay, makes
So
sense.
I ended up figuring out that in order to publish Cami Kangaroo has too many sweets, it was going to cost me about $6,000.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to take $6,000 out of savings or retirement or whatever. I didn't have the money. I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I started seeing in these Facebook groups that people were running Kickstarter campaigns. And so I supported a bunch of them and I started researching them, asking questions, checking out what these authors were doing to market their Kickstarter campaign, because you can't just make a campaign and expect people to back it. You have to get the word out there. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it and see if I can raise some money
Hmm.
to get my books printed. And a lot of people think it's like a GoFundMe, and it's not. It's not a donation.
It's
Um,
not a donation. Yeah.
no, it's not. People are pre-ordering your book, basically, and they're pledging to your campaign to get your creative project off the ground. And in return for their pledge, they get a reward. And my
Reward.
author reward is the book, usually.
Hmm.
Some people do like games on Kickstarter, and then the reward is you get their game. So I decided to use Kickstarter because Kickstarter is all or nothing. And that can be a lot of pressure because if you set your campaign for 30 days and you don't make your goal, you don't get anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Right. But
That.
for me, I like that because I have seen authors use other platforms like Indiegogo where they don't have the pressure of the all or nothing. And then people are kind of like, oh, you don't really need to get your goal because if you don't get your goal, you still get the money anyway. So there's not the urgency of like, okay,
Uh-huh.
my goal is $4,000. We're at 3,000. Come on, guys, let's do this, because if we don't get 4,000, I don't get anything. And so with Kickstarter, people are really root for you to reach your goal, because if you don't get it, your goal, you don't get anything, and then
You don't get anything.
right, and then
Exactly.
nobody gets the reward then, because you didn't make your goal. So I that's why I chose Kickstarter, for the urgency factor. And so I went on Kickstarter, created an account. And a lot of people ask, well, how do you know how much money to go for? Well, I tell people, first figure out what you need, and then figure out what you think you can get based on your following.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you need $15,000 doesn't mean you should go for that much money. Because I've seen authors in the past who are like, well, I need 15 grand, and they set their goal for that, and they get like 2,000, because
I know.
they just don't have the following yet, and they're not knowledgeable in the marketing aspect to like get it out in front of all those people. So then you feel bad because, oh, you didn't make your goal. So you have to be realistic. Like, if for my first book, I didn't have a following because I was a new author. I had like, I did have I did have an author Facebook page that I had just started. I did have an author website that I again had just started. So I had probably 200 followers on Facebook, and they were family and friends, because
Mm.
I didn't have any fans yet, because I didn't even have a book. I had nothing.
Book. Yeah. Makes sense.
Right. So I thought, okay, so if I can just if so I needed 6,000, but I thought I'm just going to go for 4, because if I can get 4,000, at least I can afford to get the books printed. And I can
Mm-hmm.
just use my own money to pay Rebecca. So I decided to go for 4, and I thought if I sell my book for $20, if I can get 200 people
People.
to pledge to my campaign, I can make it. And I figured I could ask my family and friends, and I hated doing that, because another thing a lot of authors don't like to do is sell. We don't like to sell.
Mm.
We're introverts. I am too. I'm not a salesperson. I knew nothing about marketing. I'm a teacher. I didn't know anything about business.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn it, because
You had to learn it. Yeah.
you have to, because I'm a self publisher. If I don't sell my books, then they're just not going to sell. So I did a bunch of research again. I supported a lot of campaigns. I started reaching out to my family, my friends at church, my friends at school, my students, and just telling them like, this is my dream, and this is the book. And I went live on Facebook for the first time, which was very nerve wracking. But I put myself out there. Yes, I was afraid that people would think my book was stupid, that they would laugh at me, because we all have those fears like,
Yes.
I'm going to put myself out there and no one's going to buy my book. Nobody's going to buy it. I'm going to fail. But I thought I'm going to do it anyway, because again, if I don't do it, I'm not going to be able to publish this book. And I really wanted to get it out there. So I ended up making my goal in 8 days, which I was shocked. I don't know. I was really down on myself and didn't think I'd be able to do it, but I just pushed and pushed. And I had a marketing plan for the campaign, and I reached out to local media, and I got to go on TV, and I had newspaper articles written.
Mm-hmm.
I went on social media every day, posting about it, sharing things about Rebecca and about me and my kids. My daughter went live on Facebook with me. I had a contest to involve kids, like making your own dessert contest, because it's a sweets book. I had giveaways. It was like a full-time job for 30 days to try to get this campaign.
I know it is hard, uh, but you were determined to do that. That
Yeah.
is.
So I ended up making my goal in 8 days. So I ended up raising $6,200, because I pushed past my goal. And then I ran campaigns for my second book, my third, my fourth, and then I ran a campaign in August for this series. I kickstarted the first 3 books in this series in August.
Mhm.
So I set my goal for $24,000, and I was
Wow.
super nervous, because I'm like, I don't know. I was like, but I had I have a following now. I have like 7,000 followers on Instagram. I have 4,000 on Facebook. I have people who've been following my Cami Kangaroo journey. I started a private Facebook group just for this series, and I started
Yeah, I
inviting
was about to
teachers.
ask about that
Okay.
next.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I started inviting teachers, and parents and anybody who was interested in following this journey into that group. And I have 2,000 people in that group now who are very invested in seeing this series be brought to life. So really, one thing I tell authors is try to start marketing before you even publish your book,
Exactly.
because the more people you get emotionally invested in your book, when it's time for them to buy it, they just can't wait to get it. I mean, when I started when I launched my campaign in July, um, I think I got like $10,000 the first day because people had been waiting for months. They were like, I can't wait to order these books because I've been hearing about them since January, and now you're finally launched the campaign. And so, and they were sharing with, I mean, people really believe in the mission, so they were sharing with their family and friends. And I also have all of the parents of the kids, and they were sharing with their family and friends. So the network was really big. And so I ended up raising $32,000 for those first three books, which paid for the printing. I was able to get 3,000 books printed. Um,
Wow.
and I had to pay the illustrator, the Travis, the designer, the editors, the book cover designer. So that covered all of it. So yeah, and now I have the books from the printer, and I'm preparing for my next Kickstarter, which is going to be for books 4 and 5. So I'm going to kickstart those in a couple months here. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned that you came up with a marketing plan when you first wrote your first book. Like, how did you come up with the marketing plan? Because I know that is something very new to you. And at what point did you decide, oh, it's not going to work out without a marketing plan? I need to come up with a marketing plan. And how did you go through that journey?
So by I'm very active in those Facebook author groups. And so by reading all of the, basically I found successful self-published authors and I stalked them. I didn't stalk them, but you know what I mean.
No, you follow them.
I follow them. I watch what they're doing. I take notes like what are they doing that's successful? And then I have made several very good friends, author friends virtually, and we all talk like what has worked for you on Facebook?
Hmm.
What are you doing on Instagram that's working for you? What did you do on Kickstarter? How are you launching your book? And I follow what they're doing. I ask questions. I'm very active in the group, so I share my ideas. People share back. I've bought a few books about one. This is one of the good books that I read, the author branding, and she talks about marketing in that book. So I've bought a few
Wow.
books that I read. I've read articles about launching books. I've taken courses and attended webinars, and so um, a lot of authors just want to go for it. And it's like I really think that you need to do your research first because you're going to spend a lot of time and money making this book, and if you don't have a plan for selling it, unless you're doing this just as a hobby, which is fine. If you don't care about selling your book and you just want to do it to say that you did it, that's fine. Just do it. But most authors that I meet are doing it because they want to try to sell it. They want to make it into
Yeah,
a business. So if
exactly.
you want this to be a business, you need to do your research and figure out, especially if you don't have a marketing background like me. Um, some authors, some of my friends, they were in marketing first, and they're very successful at selling books. They can have a book that really isn't. I mean, it's a good book, but it's not like Caldecott metal book, and they can sell it because they're in marketing. They know how to sell.
Mhm.
If you don't know how to sell, and you don't have that marketing background, you need to work really hard at figuring that out. So talking to other authors, learning from them, reading books, taking courses, and I do author coaching, so I help other authors in those areas. So because I've been through it all and I've done all the training, and so I help authors come up with marketing plans and such. But I just knew that after being in that author group for a few months, I just kind of figured out that if I'm going to spend $8,000 on this book, I need to figure out how to sell it. And so just really researching, following other authors who are doing it well and figuring out what they're doing that's working, and also what they've done that hasn't worked. We also share our failures. Like I did this and it's not working for me, so I'm going to try something else. There's plenty of things that I've done that have not worked, mistakes that I've made, and I'm open about those mistakes because I don't want other people to, do the same thing and waste a bunch of money that I did. So
Oh, great. And what do you also publish ebooks, or it's only
I
e-
do. So for me, the purpose of my ebooks, because I'm a children's author, there aren't a lot of people that want their kids reading ebooks. They do want the actual physical book. But there's a couple of reasons why I do an ebook. One is that there's a lot of teachers that use ebooks in their classroom because they'll project it onto the
Mm.
screen. And as a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, I've done that before. So I do it for that reason. And then the other reason is I do it to get reviews. So what I do is I make an ebook, I make it available for Kindle Unlimited people. And then
Mm-hmm.
I run what you can do through that program is you have 5 free ebook days every 90 days. So you
Mm-hmm.
can set your ebook free for 2 or 3 days at a time. And then I promote that heavily. I'll say on social media, and I'll even use like BookBub or Fussy Librarian, which are services that send out newsletters to millions of people. And they'll say, hey, this book is free today on ebook. And then you're hoping that people will download your book and that they'll leave you a review. And the
Mm-hmm.
review will be a verified review because they downloaded your ebook. So that's
Okay.
how I usually launch a book is I upload the ebook first. I'll set it free for a few days and I'll tell my followers, hey, my goal is to get 25 reviews to get this book out there. And that's how I get a lot of reviews is by doing those free ebook promotions.
Great. Great. Um, uh, at what point you decided that you want to set up your own publishing company?
So after I published the first 2 books with Lindsay's company, I thought, I think I know what I'm doing now. Um, and I want to do it myself. I mean, I was doing it myself anyway, but I thought I want to just get my own name on these books. So that's when I decided to do that. So I have my own company now. It was fairly easy to set up through the state of Minnesota. Just you pay a little fee, and I have an LLC. I hired someone to make a logo for me. I asked my followers about different names for my publishing company. I try to involve my followers whenever I can. So if I need a name for a series or a name for a book or a name for a character, I will pull my audience because again, I'm engaging my followers and getting them involved in the process. And so, yeah, that was at the point where when I was confident about self-publishing, I decided to just get my own company and publish everything under my own name from now on.
Great, great, thank you. Because the reason why I was asking about ebooks is like Magic Polygon. Also, we have interactive children book
Mm-hmm.
in our platform. Right now, we are adding our own content, but in future we are planning to add authors content to that, so that the parents, teachers. We also have a school version where the teachers can actually record a story, or a kid can record a story in their own voice by seeing the pictures or what they feel about the story and stuff like that, and they can share it with the
Mm-hmm.
teachers. And the teacher can send private reviews. So the one thing is in Magic Polygon that the kids can touch, and there are kind of interactive animations here and there,
Mm-hmm.
so that it becomes a little bit engaging. It is for the age group of 3 to 8. So in future, we are thinking about adding author's book to Magic Polygon, where the author also gets a part of subscription based on the number of pages read from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that sounds great.
oh, great, thank you. I mean, if you want, I could send a link to my app. You could explore and let me
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all we have. Thank you very much for your time. It was awesome talking to you.
Yeah.
Your journey as an author, and how you marketed your books and sold over 20,000 books in the last 3 years. That's very, very Um,
I've sold over 70,000 books in 3 years.
oh, wow.
Does my website only say 20? I need to change that.
Yeah, I was looking into your website actually.
Sorry
So,
about that. I've been a little crazy busy because I'm trying to fulfill my Kickstarter orders, so I need to like update everything. But
okay, 70,000 books over the last 3 years. That's very, very impressive. And it's very good to talk to you. Thank you so
yeah,
much for your time.
thank you so much. It was great meeting you, and I wish you luck with your endeavor, with all of your
Thank
endeavor.
you. Thank you. I'll get in touch with you after
Okay,
this
sounds
call.
great. Thank you.
Thank